In this video, I'm going to be talking about the ZwoBot Twst device. ZwoBot is a suite of Max for Live devices that allows you to create visuals inside Ableton. The Twst device creates shapes and patterns that you can morph. So this is the kind of shape that it creates. You can see here I've already connected it to my ZwoBot player, and because this is a visual generator, you don't need a video or image underneath it because it creates the visual itself. So we've got this speed dial. This controls the speed of the movement. So you can see you get this wave effect, and the speed will control how fast that moves. And then we've got density, which controls the density of the shape. We can choose what kind of surface you're going to have. Over here we've got these surface options. It's currently on mesh, which creates this mesh effect made up of lines. You can have points instead, which will make it made up of these dots, or texture, in which case it will be a solid texture. Here we've got these T and C buttons. So C will make it this color gradient. You can't control the color, it automatically has these pre-programmed gradients that it'll change between. But if you did want to have control over the color of it, you could use the color generator module. For one of the other devices like the filter device or the color duo device or the color device, there's other ways that you can do that. You just can't do it within this device. The T button will apply it as a texture map, and you can see here I've got a video that's playing in the background on my first video deck. That is what you're seeing through there. So it's going to apply this shape as a texture on top of the visual. Scale surface will control this wave effect, and it'll make the individual parts of that effect bigger or smaller. So it's kind of controlling the density of the movement. So this controls the density of the actual shape, and then this controls the density of the movement on top of the shape. And then over here you can change the pattern of that movement. So it's currently set to noise. But if I change it to checker, you get this checkerboard effect. It's more like squares. Noise is what we just saw, it's a bit more wavy. Waves is another kind of wave effect, kind of similar to noise. And then distorted is a more distorted pattern. So you can choose what type of movements you have there, and then the scale surface will control the size of those movement patterns. We've got this smooth button down here, so this makes the shape a bit smoother basically. So you can see, for example, that's it with smooth on, and that's it off. So it smooths the whole thing out. We've got some rotation options here, so these arrows will make it automatically rotate. But the speed is currently set to 0, so it's not going to move at all. So first you need to turn this up, and this controls the speed of the rotation. So using these arrows you can control the direction of the rotation, and using this you can control the speed. Up here we've got a grid. This will control the angle of the shape. So you can rotate it around using this, and the default position is bottom left, so if you want to return it to the default you can just drag it to the bottom left. And if you use some of this auto rotation and then you want to turn it off and you want to get it back to how it was before, just click here in the bottom left. If you click this plus button you get another grid, and this allows you to change the position of the shape. So you can change the position on this grid and then press the plus button again to go back and change the rotation on this grid. On the rotation one, the default is in the center, but it's quite difficult to manually get it exactly back there, so you can press this R button to reset it. Here we've got the size, so that controls the size of the whole shape. And then we've got some additional options. So this open surface, this is on by default. If you turn it off, in addition to the actual shape, you have an additional kind of casing around it. So when open surface is on, it's just a shape, and then when you turn it off, it's kind of inside this as a layer. Shading adds some shading to it. And then thinning, I'm not entirely sure what that does, to be honest. Can't really see much of a difference with most of them, but there's probably some setting where you'll notice a difference. But yeah, I'm not really sure what that one does. The weight controls the thickness of the lines. And as you bring that up, it's going to take up more of your CPU, so that's just something to bear in mind. Then we've got trails, which adds a trail effect. And twist will distort the shape. When you have either a sound reactive control on or the beat control, you get these additional options down here, which refers to the way the shape moves between the different states. JP stands for jump, so that means it's just going to jump between those two different shapes like it is now. LI stands for linear, which means it's going to move between them in a linear fashion, so the movement is going to be even. And then we've got 3 ease in options, so you've got ease in, ease out, and FE, which stands for, I've forgotten, fast ease. And then you've got this little plus button. This just gives you specific coordinates for the grid. So if you want a specific position, I can type that in here, and that will change, in this case, the rotation. And then if I want to do the same for the position, I can click the plus button, and I can do the same on this grid. A lot of these parameters have beat controls, which means I can sync them to the BPM of my project. I've already done it with this twist control, but let's do it with some of the others. I'll maybe do it with the speed. By clicking these little buttons here, you can have them change in sync with your BPM, and how fast they change will depend on what you've got set on your master beat control on your ZwoBot player. And we can also apply some sound reactivity, so if we don't want it synced to the beat, we can have it respond to the audio. So I'll have the speed respond to the lower frequencies, I can have the density respond to the highs, and then maybe we'll have the rotation change. And in the bottom left hand corner we've got our transparency and blend mode controls. So this slider controls the overall transparency of the effect. And then we've got a selection of blend modes here, which will blend it with the underlying image.